Hey everybody, this is Fine, and I'm Sam.
Erik, is it fine?
Is it fine though? Are things going fine?
No.
Probably not.
Definitely
Uh,
not. Like I spent the whole night like sick to my stomach watching a video of like a woman in Somerville, and I'm from originally the Republic of Camberville, get like snatched off the street for writing an op-ed, which is like the basic of free speech in this country. Like watching the Signal thread bullshit happen, and like how incompetent our administration is,
yeah.
and like trying to hide public records in order to like jackboot fucking authoritarianism. I mean, like, what the actual fuck? But like, I do feel encouraged that there seems to be some crack showing in the Trump coalition and like what's happening,
They're
and
being
that there
exposed
seems to
again.
be a
Yeah,
little bit more coming back. So
yeah.
it's freaky and scary, and like at the same time as it is like like maybe there's some hope here, and like we're gonna go see things are gonna see things start to explode a little bit more, and hopefully a real resistance build. So
Yeah, I mean, I am. I look. We've been seeing cracks emerge in the Trump coalition ever since he won. So they're there. It's just a matter of they're like wounds that are opening and closing consistently, right? They're just sort of like open and close and open and close. It's not like they're going to never be able to pull their media apparatus together in the future. I would say that it's it is the if you look at who the mainstream media is at this point, it's right wing media is mainstream media. So it's not like they're losing, but there are cracks exposed, and that is a welcome sign to see right now amidst all of this.
amidst all the craziness, but you want to dive into the signal. This is a
Yeah,
signal gate, and like all
yeah,
the stuff that's happened there.
yeah.
uh
So like just so let's just set it up for our audience so they understand. Those of you who haven't been following the story, like there's like a bunch of like really high level Republican Trump administration decision makers who are discussing very classified war plans, like imminent strikes on Yemeni targets, I believe, and they were discussing it all, and they accidentally put a reporter on the chat, and they were doing it on Signal, and so Signal is an encrypted messaging app. They were like, there's a couple things wrong with this. Obviously, like doing it discussing these things so casually, not good, right? Putting a reporter on there, not good. And then it's illegal if you're doing things that have to do with government policy and you are an executive branch employee, and that includes the vice president and the president, by the way. It is illegal for you to talk about those things off of like official government uh, messaging technology, both hardware and software. Because if you do, because every piece of government policy has to be communication has to be recorded for posterity. It's part of official record keeping, and records must be kept of all government communication with the people having government jobs according to the laws of the United States. And it's the way that we find out when people in government do stuff that's wrong, um, because they have to keep records of it. So, and
exactly,
everybody has
to protect us, right?
it's to protect the public and have accountability over our government. And it's not like no one's ever broken this before. It's just that when they do, it's a huge deal, and those people are prosecuted and go to jail usually. So or have
Yeah,
some kind of major consequences. Yeah.
Tulsi Gabbard fired 1,000 people when she first took office for having using Signal on their jobs, and then
So
starts using
is she
Signal
gonna
to
is
discuss
she
like the
gonna
most
fire herself?
sensitive plans.
Is she gonna fire herself? I wonder.
Yeah, I mean, there's no shame in these people, right? Like whatever.
Yeah, they just do whatever
And
there's no principle at stake. It's just naked power grab after naked
you know,
power grab.
and meanwhile, Witkoff, like the billionaire developer friend of Donald Trump, who is now the Russia envoy for this whole thing, was in the Kremlin with a Signal app, and,
Probably
probably
getting
on Kremlin Wi-Fi. And
yes,
like
yes.
the days after the CIA sent out like a department-wide notice, and DOD, I think it was, sent out a department-wide notice that like Russians had been able to like figure out how to hack certain Signal groups, right? And like So they're going in this chat. They say it's PC small group, Houthi small group 2. So you know that there's a 1.
There is a one out there, right? Who's the
Exactly.
one?
I mean, there's a lot of things. Like I think that the Republican operatives can count to 2, right? So like, a
Well,
lot of other things.
it's kicked all the Compton people out of, like, all the Compton people were probably also and the experienced people were also the people who, like, were like conscientious objectors to Trump's taking over, right? So, it's like they're left with inexperienced people and the dregs, basically.
Yeah,
Of
people who believe in a lie that like the election in 2020 was stolen is the
Yeah,
entry point.
yeah.
And so a lot of people are like, all these people are morally compromised, and they're all idiots, right? Like it just proves the
Well,
point. It's so much easier to throw darts from the outside than actually do it. And like
yeah, it
do the
is.
thing that you're criticizing. And the big thing here is that like they're hiding things from the American public, right? And
Constantly.
like no, this isn't a partisan issue. Like you want government to be playing within these lines because you don't want them to become hegemonic and like put themselves into our lives, right? Like
Yeah.
we want freedom from government interference and whatnot to be able to be free, right? And this is setting us up down the road to not be free, right? Like to not understand what our government's doing and for them to operate with impunity. And that's really the thing that is.
Plainclothes masked agents abducting people off the streets with no identification.
Yeah, or like, hiding things from the courts so that you can do like a mass deportation of people, a number of whom, like had autism awareness tattoos, and then they send them to like supermax El Salvadorian gang prisons. And, it's like, that's this is an attack on all of our civil liberties, because then I get worried that like if they can do it to them, what are they going to do it to like anyone who speaks up? I mean, like it's not that far from
No,
Argentina.
that's the purpose. That's the purpose. And usually what I find is that whatever one side accuses the other side of preparing to do is the thing that they would actually do, right? So, like,
Yeah.
I've never spoken to a Democrat who's interested in, like, going door to door and confiscating guns. I have never spoken to a Democrat who's worked in any administration, Obama, Clinton, Biden, none of them has and I've never heard a person say anything about rounding people up and putting them in camps, right? But that's exactly what the right wingers were accusing us of preparing to do: seize guns and put people in camps. And the reason why, I think, is that's it's projection, because that's actually what they will do with power once they have it. Is
Yeah.
round people up, put them in camps, and take away people's ability to defend themselves from the government. It's amazing. They're protecting the Second Amendment. Like they have all this rhetoric about protecting the Second Amendment, but they would definitely confiscate.
Oh yeah.
They'll do any they will use government power in a way that the like overreaching liberals would never ever do. Ever.
Yeah, because we
Never even
believe in the
think of it.
Constitution,
Yeah, we
right?
believe
We
in
believe in the
freedom.
separation of freedom, right? Like,
Yeah,
like separation of powers, and that like this is really important, and everything that you have to do has to go through a rule of law. And
yeah,
what
rule
they're
of law.
doing,
Who
the
imagine
rule of
that?
imagine that, right? Like this is how like we protect and do things, and like make sure our citizens aren't thrown in jail willy nilly over
Yeah, due process.
whatever the government decides they want to. And like that's why the administration is going after like Paul Weiss and going after these big law firms because it accomplishes something. And this is why like the cowardly deal that Paul Weiss took opened the door to a lot more, right?
Mhm.
And like what I
Could
find.
you say more about that? Could you say more about what happened? Because I don't actually know that whole story there. So
Yeah,
I
well,
would love
Paul
that.
Weiss. So there was an executive order, barring Paul Weiss from working with government employees, entering government buildings, and the whole like, which is completely illegal, right? And so Paul Weiss was in a position where other firms started to be like vultures and call their clients and say, "We're going to take you," right? And they were going to lose business, and other people in the legal community didn't really step up to protect them. So they went in to meet with Trump and worked out this deal to rescind the executive order that they would do $40 million worth of pro bono legal work on causes that the Trump administration felt were important, right? And so you know,
What
great.
the
They
fuck?
had a slam dunk case on this, right? But the problem was they were losing business, and that and like the in DC, a lot of things were done on bipartisan basis. So you had bipartisan firms, and this dirty secret is that like a lot of Democratic and Republican operatives are friends, and like
Yeah,
do things together and like work together a lot of times. But that whole like connectivity that exists between parties is sort of fraying, and now it's becoming like you're either with Trump or against them, and trying to kill off the progressive law firms that would actually be the ones to fight back against this. And
right,
like it's just been disappointing because the former Attorney General of the United States underneath Obama is a partner at Paul Weiss,
right,
and where are they? Right, like
right.
where are the people saying that this is bad and like this is like a degradation of the
All
rule
about
of
the
law?
money. I just
It's
I
all
can't
about the
I,
money.
like
It's all about
I
equity positions.
I would like I mean it's easy for me to say because I don't have a lot of money, but like I have to think that I would be willing to give up all the money that I'd earned if in order to stand up for the Constitution. Like that's bullshit. That's horseshit.
That's what we're
Yeah,
supposed to be, right? And like
yeah,
so, I just feel. I mean, that's the way I feel, right? Like
yeah,
like I was talking to my wife about like is it? I think it's okay for me to be public and like really trying to push back about this thing. I just want to make sure it's okay with you because like there might be implications for our family or whatnot down the road. And she's like, no, like what? Like I couldn't even like that. She didn't even comprehend why I try to like do this because who I am is a person who works hard and fights for what I believe is right and like what I believe is best for my family and other people and people I care about. And to if I wasn't that, what would I be?
yeah.
So I think it's just really important, right? And I think that in like all of this stuff, right? And I think that like just going back to Signalgate and like one of the key things that we're talking about, like one of the like and something that I see that's endemic like on our side of the aisle and on the left is there's a lot of like sort of laughing and like or saying like but her emails and like
Oh yeah,
things
yeah.
like that and
Like
like that
yeah,
like
like
pointing out the hypocrisy and laughing at people. And like that might feel good for us, but like the real story here is like on what the threat is to people that they're going to take away your ability to be free.
yeah, why
Um,
do us why do we Democrats feel the need to be right? Like I don't care about being right. I just care about winning, and the way to win is by feeling other people's pain and commiserating with them over it. Like telling them I see you, I feel you, I am you, right? Like that is how you win. We we don't win by being right is actually the worst position to be in if you want to win because
yeah,
it means that it's being right is an isolating position that I've learned this the hard way many times.
yeah,
As I've been railing about Gamergate, lonely and alone for the past 10 years while nobody's listened to me. Being right is not like a good position to be in. It's a position in which nobody will give you credit later, but everybody will isolate you if you insist on being right instead of being a part of the team. And so we need to be a part of the Americans team.
yeah. This is the hardest thing for me growing up. Like a lot of people. I'm like two-child family, and my sister and I would fight all the time because like I would have to be right or she would have to be right,
Yeah.
and it just so like, we wind up just fighting all the time, and like does it really fucking matter
No.
if she's right or I'm right about like some inane thing? Like whether you put the toilet paper with like the flap forward or back, whatever it is, like I think you're a monster if you put it back, but what like, probably not the best to like have like a 2 hour fight about that, right?
Right.
Like
Somebody's got to be the winner. Right.
someone's got to be the winner. It's like
But
Highlander. There
among
can
the
only be
teams that
one.
should be that's why I have no problem. I, I I think that there's a confusion when we talk about standing on principle, right? Like
Yeah.
I have no problem working with people who don't and not like just not fighting over things that we may not have in like if I talk to people who as someone who cares very deeply for LGBT people, right? I actually consider myself an LGBT person. Like uh as someone who cares very deeply about that, uh, if I'm talking to somebody who I think I can bring over to our side, and they bring up, you know, trans athletes in sports, I'm not going to like start a fight on that. I'm going to listen to them and not agree with them, but then move on to other topics because being right is less. If they're going to try to impose things on people I care about, then it's a whole other story, right? But arguing for the sake of arguing over something is not important. What's actually important is finding common ground with somebody who where that's not going to be a voting issue for people, and actually moving together on things that make the most sense for our country, because being right isn't important, right? Being on the same team with the people who need to be on the same team is the most important piece.
And I think that, like, a lot of the time we fight on these social issues, and
Yeah.
because we feel like
Yes.
we're on the right side of them, and we are. It's
Yeah.
just like,
I feel very
of course, but like,
I feel very confident standing with trans people on every single issue when the chips are down. Absolutely.
exactly. I mean, like, I feel good about that, but like, that's not the end. Like, if our end goal is to like work on like the rights of trans people, the rights of, like, climate change, all of these things that are like, existential threats, or like, to people, individuals, or to society writ large, like, we have to win, right? And like, we have to build broad coalitions, and we have to address the fear that most people feel about their situation, their position in life, right? And if people feel valued and heard, and that the government is responsive to what their needs are, it makes it easier to win those social issues, right? And like,
Yes,
and
yes.
make
Once you're on a political team with somebody, then you can convince them of any number of things afterward, right? Like that's
yeah,
the like look at what's happened with these strange bedfellows like the Make America Healthy Again RFK people and Trump. Like they have literally nothing in common on any issue
nothing.
except for anti-vax. And but now that they're part of the same coalition, watch, they're going to start talking. They're going to start saying exactly the same stuff, right? And it's
Yeah.
exactly the same with every other wedge issue. You know, the important thing is getting on the same team with people first, and then you have the open ear to talk to them more.
And it's really hard too, because like, the obviously there's lots of fear in like a lot of these different minority communities and what's happening, right? And when there's fear, like, anger is a rational response, right? And um and it's just like, it's really, 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 I mean, like, what am I supposed to tell, like, people in these communities, that you can't fight on this, like, whatnot? Like, that is really hard. But at the same time, it's like, we need to make life better for all of our neighbors, and people like us that are in positions of privilege in a lot of ways, need to use that in order to protect other people, as best we can.
Indeed. Uh, well, now that we've lectured everybody, now that we've lectured all the Democrats,
I know,
how dare
yeah.
you try to be right?
Don't be a school marm, but like,
Well, it is ironic that we're like lecturing people about not being to be right, but that's what we're doing right now, telling all our fellow Democrats we need to be right about not being right.
I know.
But yeah,
Everything's hard and nobody's
but,
perfect, right? Like,
yeah. So all right, what's next? Should we talk about? Should we talk? I would like to talk about uh, Elon Musk and Hassan Piker starting beef or continuing beef. I'm not sure which one it is, but it's been fun to watch. Uh,
oh yeah,
uh,
it's been
uh,
great.
but my impression of what's happened is that Hassan did like what would be considered like a normal sponsorship. Like he was like doing an Assassin's Creed game playthrough or whatever, and with like just like every other streamer in history.
Yeah,
And then Elon Musk like called him out for it on a tweet and was like uh like calling him a sellout for playing a game that isn't like that Elon thinks isn't good. I don't know why he feels the need to go
it's
after him,
woke,
but
right? Like, there's like a
oh, is it?
female shinobi, and
Oh, it's that what it is.
like, like, the samurai character is black, and so
Right,
that's what, like,
right.
that's what they're
Got
going
it.
after.
It's
It's
too
like, it's
woke.
a
It's
woke
too woke.
game.
Right.
Like, how many black people are in feudal Japan? Like, this isn't
Not many,
historically.
and yet that's what maybe makes this game interesting. Is that there in this game there is one black person in feudal Japan. That may be a unique setup for a game, right?
Yeah, that might be a very unique setup for a game. And well,
didn't Tom Cruise make a whole movie called The Last Samurai? And
yeah,
he was um uh he like he's the only white guy there. So like, are we saying that movie's too woke too?
yeah. I mean, like, yeah, exactly. The Last Samurai, like, the gunboat diplomacy and whatnot.
No
And,
white people in Japan.
well, yeah. I mean, like during that time, I mean, they closed down the entire borders.
Right, isn't that the plot of the movie? Anyway,
But the thing is, it's like it's not like Ubisoft like made this like trope out of nowhere. Like the Yasuke
no,
is like an actual historical figure in Japan, right?
yes,
Like the female, like
of course.
the female samurai, and like Kunoichi is a like black samurai is a trope in a lot of Japanese manga, right? So it's something that is like culturally relevant now, and something that is not that far outside of the norm. But like,
No. Yeah, you're right. Kunoichi is actually a female ninja.
yeah,
So I know this from watching Naruto. Excuse me.
yeah.
I have watched Naruto before. So Kunoichi is a female ninja, and there's a word for it in Japanese because there's a tradition of female ninjas in
There's a
Japan.
tradition of female ninjas. So it's like it's not that far outside of the
No.
norm,
Yeah.
and like it's yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, but then so they're going after this game because it's woke and like
Yeah.
and whatnot, and then Assassin's Creed comes in,
Wait. Ubisoft's official Twitter account
comes in and says like, is that what the guy playing your Path of Exile 2 account told you, right? And yeah, just like burned him. So Alon's Hassan is a fraud has 24,000 likes.
Yeah.
Ubisoft,
By the way, he's boosting the shit out of that artificial.
oh yeah, he's like, oh my god, please.
more
Like
retweets, more likes.
And then like Ubisoft has 722,000 likes. Like so, like order of magnitude, like 40 times.
Ratioed.
Yeah, ratioed, right? And like,
Yeah.
and it's just like hilarious, right? Like, but like it just goes to show you like what what we're sort of missing in this gaming space and whatnot. Like, it's like the Alana the Cheater thing started like 2 months ago when he did this. Like, we talked about this, like when he streamed Path of Exile, and I obviously didn't play the game, and I had no idea what was going on. And then Asmongold and him got into a fight, and it's like this is why we got to engage in these spaces in a way.
Because this is the place where he's being exposed to as a loser.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like that's like he's like so desperate.
Yes, you can feel the neediness. He's like needy. He's like,
yeah.
That's how I can just tell. That's how he feels. He feels all the time like attention, attention. Like that's how it feels, right? And I don't know. It's a really unattractive quality. So and everybody like that's how everybody feels when they see someone who's acting like that. So
yeah, it's like super needy, and like he's like going after his kid on Twitter and saying that like was killed by the woke mind virus because his daughter is a trans woman, and like, dude, it's your child. Like,
it's your child. This like you owe like this is how. Speaking as a parent, I'm just gonna like say how it feels to be a parent. Like flattening. As a parent, I feel that I owe my child everything, and they owe me literally nothing.
Exactly.
Right? Like that's how it is. It's a love that comes out of your heart and you push it forward into the future. Okay?
Yeah.
So if you are a parent who is operating from any other principle other than that, I'm not going to listen to anything you have to say about your kids because not like, and everybody's going to have their own path. Like I'm not saying, oh, you're a bad person if you think. I'm just saying I'm not going to personally listen to you if you feel anything different than that because I know how I feel about parenthood, and I struggle to see how anyone like there must be so much crazy blockages to the love there that to be able to even have a kid and not be in their lives seems crazy to me. Like I can't even imagine how that must feel to know that you have like 14 kids and to have a relationship with none of them. Like
that's like really
brutal.
weird, right? And
totally
like, I mean, let's like be honest here. Like parenting is hard, right? And like,
Really hard.
it's really, really hard. And like, for me, it's just like I see all of my defects of character sometimes show up with my kid, right?
Yeah.
And like, but the hardest thing is like definitely try to parent the me out of my children sometimes. I'm like, oh my God, you don't want to be like that. Trust me, like middle school will not be good if you do that. Like if you
But
try
putting
to
that
be
pressure on them, you're actually maybe even creating problems too, right? Like
oh, you're
there's
creating
so
so
many.
many
Yeah.
problems.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, like, and like I've obviously not been a perfect parent. I've tried my hardest and I try to learn and do everything. Like,
Yeah.
because like I'm
It's
operating from a
respectful.
place of fear, right? Like I'm like, oh my God, you're gonna have a tough middle school life if like you talk too much or like, you're always like making comments and like, whatever, right? And so like I let my own fear dominate things, and that's not good, right? And so like that's what I spend a lot of time trying to like center myself and like
Yeah.
okay, like this is what it is, and like how you interact with your kids and whatnot. But like nobody actually cares about parenting here, so
Yeah, I'll just say like it must be a very lonely life to be making children and not interacting with them. That seems lonely to me, and it makes me feel a lot of pity and especially with like his neediness. Like there's just a lot going on there, and that the epic crash out that we're headed for with Elon Musk, like I don't think that we've ever seen anyone so overexposed in the media as we have with Elon Musk. He literally owns the largest conversational platform in the world, and he's everywhere all the time. He's running our government. He's the president, and
Mhm.
Donald Trump is like junior president. So like you know
He
like
has time to go after Hassan Piker.
yeah, what is it like? This is not. There is no way that this ends well for him.
No,
I mean, like I do not. This is going to be so ugly to watch, and it's just going to be brutal. So I really feel for Elon Musk in a lot of ways, but also like I feel the need to also protect myself and others from the all of the pain that he's going to unleash on the world as he goes down, because it's going to be really brutal.
yeah, and like I mean, like they're racing towards this like advanced generalized AI, right? AGI, as they say,
Right.
that's gonna like basically take over the world and smarter than humans, and it's going to make all of our decisions for us, right?
Yeah,
And
sure. That's
whatnot. So we're
exactly
not
what we
going to
want.
need government. It's so great. Like, what are humans going to do, right? Like, if AGI can do everything, what are we going to do? I mean, like,
I
working and
don't think that's the case,
engaging.
though. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that you can ever create a like because and this is informed by maybe by like spirituality, my spiritual perspective, but like I just think that the yeah, thank you. I just think that like it's our creativity doesn't come from the body. It's not this isn't an artificial construct. That our consciousness is inside the body, and we're executing our creativity through the body, right? But it's coming from beyond this universe. The creativity, whenever we come up with an idea, is coming from beyond the universe that we exist in. So like so how can something that's artificial of this universe have the same creative capacity that we do? As we're infinite, our creative capacity is infinite. We're not limited as humans. That
By
the only limiter is the
stole
employees
from
that
the
we place on
government.
ourselves. Sorry.
We're not limited by the data that we stole from the government in order to
Oh
train it.
yeah, well, and he can. This is what I'm talking about. When I say I feel the need to protect from him flailing around trying to find some meaningful existence out of something that he feels is like he clearly feels like his existence is meaningless, or else he wouldn't be doing all this stuff. Like this is crazy, crazy stuff that he's doing to try to seek control over all these things. Like
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, and like that's the basis of all insecurity, because like the more like the tighter you grip, the more the system slip through your fingers, right? Like
that's happening.
that's
That's happening to them right now.
exactly. Like it's just
That's
the
the
way
only TV clip we need to like. We just put that in their faces over and over again.
I know.
These
Like
people are Grand Moff Target. That's what these people are.
no, exactly, and like it doesn't work, right? And like you're not going to control everything, and like you're like that's like neuroticism and everything. The more you try to control everything, the worse off you are in your head, because the
Right,
world would be
and that's
great if
why
everyone just did what I said.
right, and that's the reason why like I've heard like a lot of from right wingers being like, oh my god, the like World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab, like they're saying that you're going to be like own everything, own nothing, and be happy. It's like the reason why I've never taken that seriously is because for the same reason why I don't take the right wingers seriously when they're trying to control everything, because it's not actually possible. That is a fit. There's no power grab that actually works. It's impossible over the long term. We have nothing to fear from tyranny long term. It's only the people who get hurt in the short term as the tyrannical attempt tries and tries and tries and tries to exert some kind of control and fails. On its way to failure, that's where the pain is going to happen. And that's why I agree with you, Eric, that like I admire what you said earlier about standing up and fighting for what's right, because we're actually fighting for the transition into the new, and to get like we're going to get past all this tyranny horse shit. It's just how what's going to happen, how many people are going to get hurt on the way to it, and
Yeah,
that's why we need to step into the breach.
exactly. And I do have faith that we will get past it. And like, the like what's happening in Turkey right now,
Yeah,
even like the protests in the street in Hungary,
yeah. They
in
arrest so like
Argentina.
I can tell you what happens in Turkey because I follow Turkish politics. My wife's family is Turkish. So Erdogan, and this is something that could happen in our future. Erdogan, the president of Turkey, he's facing an actual political challenge for real by the governor of Istanbul, or the mayor of Istanbul. And so they arrested him for no reason, but for the only reason is because
Corrupt.
if he's in jail, right, corruption, right? Because if he's in jail, he can't be on the national ticket for president. So they just eliminated their competition, and it's just crazy. So
Yeah, I
uh,
mean, like, and obviously he's looking around the world and seeing incumbents are doing worse, and like, like people are back. There's a lot of backlash to this style of government now. Like the thing Trump has done is really hurt the far right in Europe, and like they're coalescing. I mean, I think what Macron said yesterday was really interesting. Yes, or the day before, he's like, we're a continent of 500 million asking a continent of 300 million to protect us from a nation of 100 million, and like that's got to change, right? And and like that's good for Europe, not great for us. Because that's like we were the suppliers of everything, and now we have like countries canceling F-35 plane orders. We have like this is all stuff that's going to impact us in the long term, and I'm just not sure how we're gonna get to that big kids table again uh, after this is all done. And like the answer is that we're gonna have to spend a lot of time cleaning up our politics and like what we've done to allow um, the proliferation of like this craziness and like authoritarianism and like everything that's happening, right? And like we got to really really buckle down and bring people along and like have a coherent vision for the future as to what we want to do.
that people can buy into, right? Like, and
That
it's
people
and
can
it's
buy
not
into.
our vision; it's their vision. Like they get to decide the vision too, along with us. Like we don't need to tell them what the vision is. We just need to like have a piece of the idea and come together with other people and zip it all together. And that is actually the winning strategy in the long term.
Yeah, exactly. Bring people together, win, change culture, right? And change how we're doing things. And like and we have an opportunity to do it, but like it's hard to get to because like I feel so fearful, right? Like in some ways, right? Like the again that kidnapping of that young woman for writing an op-ed in Somerville in broad daylight. It was a gut punch yesterday, because I mean freedom of speech is absolute, right? And it doesn't matter, that constitutional right is afforded to you whether you're a citizen or not. All right, in the original framing of the Constitution, and that was is the thing. And like we have all these people that were getting into Trump because of free speech, and that they were getting blocked on Twitter, but they turn right around and execute free speech wherever
Right.
they can.
Yeah, this is where I really like. I know this is like a well-worn trope at this point, but it's really hard to look at people in the Republican Party right now as this happens, right? Because like I don't have not like a high level person where I have the ability to just go and talk to someone like Marco Rubio, but like I want to just shake him and be like, yo, don't you believe in the Republic?
Yeah, that's what I feel like too. I mean, like that's. I mean, my
Don't you
dad's a
believe in the
Republican.
republic? Well, don't you believe in the idea of a republic? Like,
Hmm.
what have you lost faith in America?
But they're not thinking about that in that way. Like they're not getting, they're not getting that media, right? They're not getting the question, like like whatnot. Like I have a hard time. Like my dad's a conservative, right? And I have, when I talk to him, in the back of my mind, I'm like, aren't you upset by what's going on? And like I feel like very angsty about talking to him,
Yeah.
and like he'll want to talk to me about like how like the Democrats are disarray, and they are, and like whatnot.
For
But
what? Who? Of course, we're in disarray. We're grappling with the
yeah,
end
but
of
I'm
the
not gonna
republic.
get. But like I've learned that like getting into an argument with him is like the quickest way for us not to talk, and he's older, and
Yeah.
whatnot, right? So it's just like super uncomfortable. Um, but like I don't want to just like shut him out, but like that's why I get
Mhm.
the feeling, like a lot of progressives have, um, of like you're a danger to me, and like get away, right? And I just feel like at this moment, like we have to be like Desmond Tutu, right?
Yeah.
Like even Mandela in South Africa, which is super relevant now because they just appointed an apartheid proponent as the envoy to South Africa.
Well,
I,
and Elon Musk is an apartheid proponent, and he's the president of the United States, if unofficially. So
yeah, that's where
yeah,
we are, right? And
yeah,
like Mandela started off as a revolutionary, right? And
yeah.
violence and whatnot.
So
But
did
that's
Malcolm X.
Yeah, so did Malcolm X. But at the end of the, like, they realized that that didn't work, and like
Yeah.
the reaction of anger, like we have to center that, like we have to look at like Martin Luther King. We have to look at like these people who led Gandhi. Like who are the most successful liberation movements ever, right? There are people that did things peacefully and demonstrated the injustice of the system, right? And like let them be the ones that show what their true hearts are, right? Because a lot of people don't believe it, right? Because like the media environment and the system that like we only have like 40% of media and eyeballs. That's a rough estimate, but like
Yeah,
they
they own the
dominate the
mainstream.
yeah, they
Yeah,
own the system.
the
Eh,
Republican media is mainstream media. So like, if you hear Republicans talk about the media at this point, don't listen to them.
yeah,
They are the mainstream.
yeah,
Anything
they
that
own
yeah,
local news channels. They like all of this. Like they own it across the country. They own like they dominate the algorithms because they're focused on engagement and rage. So we're behind on this, and so it's tougher for us to win. But the way to win is to demonstrate injustice, right? Or like to get out there and march. It's what's like someone said that it takes mobilizing 3.5% of the population is enough to create system change, right? So that's what we're sort of working towards. And you have like the hands off rally that's coming up on April 5th, as opportunities for people to start getting engaged and do things. And that's, it's moving. We're going in the right direction, right? Like I
I think
do
we are.
feel like we are going in the right direction. It's just a lot right now, right? Like it's
It's
just
just a
like
lot.
that's the goal. That's the goal. Like overwhelm us so that we feel beaten down and depressed. But I mean, I've said this many times. The reality is that the power is in the hands of people, right?
It always
Um,
has been, always will be.
Vox populi, right? Elon's favorite saying, right? And like that's where the battle is. The battle is won for public opinion.
Yeah. Uh, what we're having a short podcast today, but we have about 20 minutes left if we want to talk about something else here. What else? Ooh, do you want to talk about the article that you quoted in, the really, really good article?
Oh, the roll call article.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I did, did an article with roll call about live streaming and what the space was like, um, recently, just to sort of point out the fact that we haven't been engaging in this space, and that real like the like and it was backed up by, there's an article in the New York Times yesterday too that talks about like why young people sort of went for Trump. And
Mm,
I mean the answer is like it's economic issues, it's pocketbook issues, it's like they don't feel like they have a strong future, right? And that
right. You have
the
no
truth,
ability to build wealth, basically, to build a
yeah,
future.
exactly. I mean, everyone, like people are divided on the game Destiny 2, but like I enjoyed playing raids and whatnot. And I just like listening to young people in these raid groups in LFG world, which is like a quite a toxic place sometimes. But you like underneath like anger or like yay MAGA or calling people snowflakes or whatever it was, there was a deep anxiety over the fact that they didn't know what their future held, right? Like the traditional ways to access wealth and get ahead, this seems so unattainable to people. And like I think that the Democrats have generally done things that have, like, we advocate policies or say things that people don't believe, right? Like Harris did the whole opportunity agenda as like a main plank of our platform, and it focused around like, okay, home ownership, right? How many young people believe they can actually own a home, right?
Right.
Right. It's starting a
Yeah,
small business. Like,
it's
how
a
many
really
people
good platform. I just think people didn't believe that it was possible, right?
didn't believe it was possible because there's only affected a small percentage of people that like that don't have a college degree, which is 60% of the country, that don't believe that it can actually start a small business, right? Like how are they going to get the capital to get this done? And so like I think that we talk about things that require like some sort of level of like higher thought and college education, um, and don't necessarily talk about things that like meet the rubber with the road for a lot of young people. And they want opportunity. This Gen Z has been sitting inside watching influencers talk about wealth on TikTok, whatever and ever. So this is a generation that's very concerned about making money, because, and for a good reason, right? It's not that like capitalism is like the end of the world, but they're worried because they're going to be the first generation that's worse off than their parents. So this fear is very, very, very real, right? And then this sort of came up on Blue Sky lately because, again, like we always talk about crypto, but like Mark Cuban put up this post that like if the Democrats had taken a response towards crypto that was more focused on regulation rather than litigation, we would have won the election, right? And everyone went crazy, right? Like, well, that's not true, and like definitely not. Like it's a scam, etc. Because like what we see in the news is like Sam Bankman-Fried, Musk, rug pulls, and what the reality is that young people, like 40% of young people own or trade crypto, right? Like even higher, but like have some involvement, especially young men, and they see it as a way for like them to have financial security, right? And like the crypto goes burr, but if you go into the stock market, like you're playing against the whales on your day trade, and the whales are always going to win, right? Like they have very complicated computer algorithm systems
Yes.
that
And they're
are like,
faster than you. They're
and it's
faster than
much
you. You're
faster.
faster than your finger. Your finger can't move as fast as the computer
Well, I
can.
mean, like they're also right next to the main servers on Wall Street, right? So,
Yeah.
like, if you're in Texas, like that extra 3 milliseconds between putting a trade in is the end of the world to you, right?
Yeah.
Like they like the trading algorithms take advantage of that, and so they see when you put like like they can take your order in, and then they can take that 4 cent gain, sell whatnot, and then you get left holding the bag. But crypto seemed to go like, it's only went up. It's easy. Buy in, you're good. And so when we took the very heavy-handed approach to it, it appeared to them that we're trying to cut off their future, right? And
Right.
so I don't think that the answer is that like we should get people involved in super risky assets like crypto, and like and whatnot, and that we should encourage that growth there. But I do think we miss the broader point of young people not being able to get ahead or feeling like they're left out,
Yeah.
and that's the thing we have to address.
Yeah, and it can't be playing around the net margins. Like we have to like do something really massive in adjusting how people can attain wealth. Because like, again, playing around the edges is not going to work. We're like, and it doesn't even have to be public policy. It doesn't matter how it happens. It's just the wealth concentration has to end somehow or the other. Because it's if it doesn't, then we're in the situation where Grand Moff Tarkin is watching a star system slip through his fingers. Like that's what this is.
Exactly.
Have
I mean,
you
like what the
have you ever
20
worked
last
a race? All right, go ahead. So
Well,
go
I was
ahead.
just saying, like the last 20 years has just been like like a massive transfer of wealth from the middle class to the richest people, right?
Yeah.
While at the same time, those richest people are talking to the people, and everyone wants to be them. So you know,
Right.
it's tough to just be going after the billionaires because people want to be billionaires, right? But what the fundamental message is, it's a scam, right? Like they're
All a scam.
stealing from you, like
They're
your
like
wage
fleas
growth
riding on
hasn't
the
gone
back
up.
of the middle class.
Yeah, like the prices have gone down, so like we'll like it feels like you might have more money, but like you don't, and everybody else is getting ahead. And we have to create those opportunities to really get people ahead. Like, what do we have to do? Not everyone's going to go to college, right? So like, how are we teaching critical thinking at like the high school level? Like, how are we
Yes.
having people like do these things and not depending on college to be the place that you have to go to be
No.
a thinking citizen, right? Um and like, with young men, it's like, how are we looking at school and the inequities in school, especially for boys who are always in trouble at school, as a father of boys, and always getting yelled at that they think they're bad. Like, we should be addressing the root causes of things and focusing there in order to build community and people around us.
Yeah. Yeah. I also totally agree. And like I think it's just really important to understand how much home ownership and asset ownership, broad-based asset ownership, is associated with political stability. Like
Hmm.
even if you're after political stability, the only thing that matters is 50% plus one of the population feeling bought in that the system benefits them. Right.
Yeah, and
So
right now they don't.
right. So like if you've and like if that correlates with homeownership, right? Uh like nationwide, like the most reliable voters are homeowners, right? So like duh, okay, those people are going to support the system. Whoever is representing the system, it used to be Republicans. Recently, I think people have been assuming that it's the Democrats who represent the system. Like whoever it is, like those people are going to support Democrats, right? But look if you want to see what America is going to look like if we don't allow continued broad-based asset ownership. Just look at what politics is like in major American cities. It's not like, oh, crime-ridden flea holes or whatever. No, it's the politics are driven because most people in these cities are renters.
Mhm.
Okay, well, so what have you followed New York City politics? What does that look like? What is it like to have to win a majority when the majority of voters are not homeowners? What does that look like? Okay, well, it looks like trying like really using government to try to upend the system. That's what it is. Like
Yeah.
all New York City mayoral elections are referendums on the system and like major populist like trying to take stuff away from the mega rich. So if you're someone who's mega rich, you literally will not be able to survive with your wealth intact unless the majority of people are able to buy some assets that are stable assets that provide for a foundation for family growth, right? Like that's actually what's needed in order to like if Elon gives a fuck about like citizens around Americans growing our population and having babies. Like, why are he and all his buddies buying up farmland and trying to own all this stuff? Stop,
Doing.
stop.
I mean, that's why they want to end the USPS, the Postal Service, in rural areas, so that these communities in rural areas die, and they're able to steal their assets at bargain basement prices.
That is crazy. This is why we know that they're lying. This is like demonic shit. They're like saying on one end free speech, free speech, and power to the little guy, right? And we want and capitalism, and basically what they're constructing on the other end is uh is is seizure of assets and creation of a communist system. This is a communism that they're trying to do.
Well, this National Socialism for a reason, right?
Like,
Like,
what is
but
this crazy?
I don't know. It's not. It doesn't make any sense, and
And
it's
no
gonna
free speech. And no free speech, right? Like,
and
of
no
course.
free speech. If you
Yeah.
if you say something wrong, we're gonna deport you to El Salvador, right?
Yeah. Free speech only if you agree with me, right?
Only if you agree with me, all right?
Yeah.
And like, look at what's happening at universities. Like, a major scholar at EL Law just took a job and moved over to the University of Toronto that does a lot of the work on like what is tyranny and like authoritarianism
Yeah, because they
is.
can't live
Because
here now.
yeah, he's like, well, I feel like there's a danger of America becoming a fascist dictatorship. And again, going back to the article, I do point out that we say these things too often.
Yeah, we don't need to use the
But
word
like,
fascism. I'm not
because that
saying that we
doesn't
need to
mean
market.
anything to people anymore. Like,
I'm
it's
not
just
saying we
like,
should use it. That's why I'm not using those like I'm not using those words. I'm pointing out that all the hallmarks of the things that they say that they like the reason why they scaremonger the idea of communism, even though there's never been a threat of communism in the United States ever, right? Like, when has there ever been a real communist movement in the United States? Like, I'm sure there are plenty of people who watch left wing commentators who wish it were the case, but there's never been a real communist movement in America. The closest we've ever come was during the Great Depression, and that went nowhere. So like, what are you talking about? And then you're literally pursuing exactly the same shit, but you just want to
yeah,
be the ones in charge. You want to be Mao. Like
he basically
Elon
wants to
Musk
be
wants
Mao.
to be mounted Mao Zedong. That's where he's going. He wants technological superiority. He wants to create a social credit system that he controls. Right? Like why are they pretending? Why don't why do they feel like they have to lie to the public in order to get what they want? I've never felt like I have to lie to the public on what I care about.
I know. I mean, like, no, you don't have to, right? And yeah, every accusation is an admission, basically, right? That's what it boils down to. And
Sorry, I'm like very pissed off here right now, but
yeah, no, yeah, I'm pissed off too, right? And like, it's it's frustrating, but like, we can do stuff about it. We can fight.
yes,
We
we can.
can win,
We can and we will.
and we will. We have to. We have no choice, right? And like, you know, it's gonna take all of us, right? Like as I said before, it's like the coalition is anyone,
Everyone.
everyone that is in favor of the rule of law. And once we reestablish that, we can fight over the other policy particulars about what has to go. But that's like the number one issue, because if we're not if we're a nation of men and not of laws, we're fucked. And like,
Screwed. Absolutely screwed.
yeah, because men and women and individuals and whatever are flawed, right? And like, laws,
We have no internal fortitude. We've never seen any ruler with internal fortitude to who like the only thing we've ever seen is rulers who set up institutions and then those institutions last beyond them. That's
yeah,
all that's ever
exactly.
happened.
That's why we don't have kings, right? Like, there's no king, because every king was horrendously flawed, and your power corrupts, right? And like, makes you think about things in the wrong way. It out inflates the ego, which is basically like the death of like everything, and makes you think that you're omnipotent and like all powerful. And no man is all powerful. No
Yeah.
woman is all powerful. No human is like all powerful. We're all flawed. And like, just because you were born into emerald mine fortune in apartheid South Africa doesn't mean you have all the answers.
Yeah. Yes. And here's the message that I want to say to everybody. Don't to anybody who's watching this, do not believe or follow us. Do not believe or follow Donald Trump or Elon Musk. Do not believe or follow anyone. You owe nobody your allegiance. You only owe allegiance to yourself. And America is built off the idea of individuals who listen to themselves, who have sovereignty among themselves, banding together to create something greater than they themselves could build alone. That's what America is all about. And if you start to get to pledge fealty to or obedience to anyone, you've lost the game like that. That's not what America is about.
Yeah, don't give away your power. Don't give it to someone else.
Keep it for yourself. You
So, I
deserve it.
mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, look, you're
Yeah.
smart. Like, American people are smart, and that's why I get
Yes.
mad at liberals when like they're like, "Oh, well, these people are stupid." They vote, and like, no,
No, they're not. They're not
they're not.
stupid.
They believed.
They're trustworthy. The American public is trustworthy. They are intelligent. They make good decisions for themselves. When presented with any kind of good option, they will make the right decision.
Yeah, but the problem, and the media system is broken, and the information people are getting is broken,
And
and
the
like,
options that they've been presented with are bad options.
are bad options. Are bad options. Democrats have been talking years about improving people's lives, and income stratification has only gotten worse.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay.
All right.
Well, I think we should leave it there as we you were everybody. That went in unpredictable directions, but I'm glad we did. I've been feeling some stuff. I've been feeling some stuff, so it's good to get it out.
Yeah. Lots of stuff. Lots of
Yes.
stuff.
All right.
All
Thanks,
right. Well,
Erik.
thank you. Yeah. Talk to you
Yeah.
soon.
Talk to y'all soon.